Hey there, my name is Chuck Fresh. I was a DJ for about 15 years in the Philadelphia area. I've done all different types of DJing, and I'm going to give you some of the tips and tricks that I learned in my experience on how to make you a better and potentially a successful DJ. It's a pretty sweet career and it's a lot of fun, and I can't see why anybody wouldn't want to do this. So let's check it out. We're going to look at the art and business of party starting today. So what is a DJ? DJ is basically an acronym for the two words disc jockey. Back in the day, DJs used to play round things like records, vinyl records, really heavy vinyl records. And then it progressed to CDs. So we always kind of played round things until recently. We used to play things on record players called turntables and in special CD players made specifically for DJs. So that's a disc, or disc is a round thing. So that's where the disc comes from. And jockey, it comes all the way back from like the 1940s. It's like a guy who rides a horse, a jockey, where he controls a horse. So we are the people who are riding or controlling those spinning discs. We are the disc jockeys of the disc, and that's kind of where it came from. Again, it came back from the 1940s, and we were never able to lose that term, so it still sticks with us even today. So a lot of people don't realize there's really three different types of DJs. When you say, hey, what do you do, man? And you say, I'm a DJ. Well, you need to ask what kind of a DJ, because there's really three different types, and they're very, very different. First, the club festival DJs. These guys are responsible for making people dance. Dance. All they do, their job is to make people dance with a continuous stream of music pumping out with high energy and really great songs. That's what a club and festival DJ does. The second type is the wedding and party DJs. Yeah, you want to make people dance too, but your job's a little bit more involved, because now all of a sudden you're responsible for music, plus you're the event coordinator. They're going to come to you and say, hey, DJ, when do you want to cut the cake? When should the first dance be? What is your program? What are you going to do here? So you're kind of like an event coordinator, and you're the MC. You're the person with the microphone who's walking around announcing everybody and telling people what's going to happen when. So the wedding party DJ is kind of a little bit more of a responsibility, and not as much dancing, but still you want to see people dancing and having a good time. And the third type is the radio or podcast DJ. Basically, they do a lot of talking, and unfortunately, I tell people not much thinking, because the big corporate people who own the radio stations, you got to be pretty rich to own a radio station. They do all the thinking for you. So now pretty much they tell you what to say, and you can't deviate too much from it. And most DJs are doing talk programs. They're really not playing that much music. So again, I've done all three of these. I think the club festival DJ, in my opinion, was the most fun, but I've had fun doing all three of these things too. It really depends on your personality. So each one is a completely different type of show. It really depends what you want to do and what your personality is like. So no matter what type of DJ you are, your attitude is going to be super important. You got to have a positive, uplifting attitude, and you got to remember that that's contagious. If you're happy, you're going to spread your happiness. Basically, that's how legends are created. If people want to hang around with happy, confident people, and that's what you want to just really project as a DJ when you're up there in front of people, because you're really the focus point. You're the central person in the entire party or the entire event. You're the one people are going to be looking at. You're the one with the microphone. You're the loudest person in the room through the equipment. So you really want to be positive and uplifting. You're going to be the master of ceremonies. You're kind of the party boss when you're a DJ. And it's a big responsibility, because if you goof up, everyone's going to know. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Many ways to jockey a disc. So many ways to disc jockey or jockey a disc. We could use MP3s, MP4s, AACs, OGGs, and a whole bunch of other digital formats where you can get downloads from iTunes, places like Google Music, Spotify, or other paid subscriptions. And you can use a computer, a tablet. Matter of fact, you can even DJ from a smartphone now. Can't do a lot of mixing on a smartphone, but you could theoretically DJ an entire event or a whole party from a phone. I've done it. Can't do a lot of beat mixing, but that's not true. You can actually beat mix with some apps on phones, just not as powerful as having a computer. So try to download your music rather than stream, because if you're in a place with a bad internet connection, then you could end up in trouble if you're trying to stream music and you can't connect to the internet, so that's not great. So we need to talk about copyright. So you, as a DJ, you're going to be playing most likely other people's music, because I'm pretty sure you didn't write 4 hours worth of music that people will know and dance to. It's very rare. I don't think anybody's written 4 hours of music that people will dance to. Copyright law basically protects other people's creations. They protect Taylor Swift. They protect Jay-Z, and basically everybody who wrote a popular hit song. They're protected by copyrights. That means you can't copy, change, or use that music without their permission. Now, there's a couple of ways around this. We're not going to go into it. I do have a lesson in another topic that talks about copyright and what you can do and what you can't do. The thing to remember is that DJs usually purchase a license to play popular music. So, I mean, you bought that song, or you bought a subscription to a service that has a license to let you play that song. That's kind of how you skirt that rule. And then there's the venue that you're playing at. If you're playing at a club or a park or a wedding hall or something, or a bar even, or a nightclub, they usually pay for a license to perform that. It's called a performance rights license. And they pay a lot of money, a couple $1,000s a year, for you to have the right to play that music so that the artist who made the music can get paid. So just keep that in the back of your head. If you're just downloading stuff online for free, you could end up in a little bit of trouble. They're going to say, hey, can I see your Spotify license? You never know who's going to show up or who's going to be it, because you're in the public. And you never know. They have people out there, lawyers, who kind of circulate and make sure everybody's doing the right thing. So just keep that in the back of your head. Try to do the right thing. If it feels wrong, it probably is. So there are, again, many ways to jockey that disc. You could use CDs or vinyl. Remember the discs we're talking about. And you'd be a real disc jockey if you're spinning discs. Now, this requires physical copies of the medium, so you're going to have to find CDs, which are getting harder to find, and vinyl records aren't available for every popular song. So you're really limited on what you can buy now. Back in the day, everything was on CDs or vinyl. Everything was on vinyl when I started, and I just switched to CDs, and that was a small fortune to convert, but it was so much more convenient because they were smaller. Used to carry these giant crates of these 12-inch records, and it was just really heavy, tough on the back. But then it went to CDs, and now it's gone digital, where you could theoretically put everything in the cloud, but don't do that, again, in case your internet connection is a little wobbly at your party. So many people, you'll see this a lot. A lot of people will just use a laptop and special software. But again, you could technically DJ from a smartphone or a tablet. There's also external MP3 controllers, which give you that hands-on feel. Makes you feel like you're spinning something, which connect to the computer or the smartphone. Vinyl is going to require physical turntables, and then you'll need cartridges, needles, and more. We'll talk about that in a second. But wait, there's more. In terms of DJ equipment, there's a lot of things you need to have, and they all need to work together for you to produce good sound and be able to get a lot of people to dance and party. So let's talk about some of those things. Now, if you choose to go old school and do vinyl, you're going to need some things called turntables. The Technics 1200, probably the most popular turntable in history, but there's a lot of other equally good turntables. Direct drive or belt drive. Direct drive is always the best way to go, but if you can't get that, then go belt drive. They're used to play vinyl records, and it is really cool. This is how I came up, how I learned in the vinyl, and there's just something about feeling that physical record and being able to control it, speed it up, slow it down with your hands. It really gives you the ultimate control as a beat mixer. Another thing we'll talk about a little bit later in this lesson too. You're going to need cartridges. Cartridges are the electronic devices that takes the information from the needles, which is the other thing. The needle actually touches the groove in the record and transforms those grooves into music, and the cartridge makes that an electronic signal, which sends it to your mixer and then amplifies it ultimately so that other people can hear what's on that vinyl record. So it is a pretty interesting technology. It is a lot of fun. It's really neat, but it can be kind of expensive and inconvenient. Turntables themselves are heavy, and the records you're going to need for the turntables are a little crazy too. There's other ways you can use records just for scratching. You can actually use records to feel like you're controlling the digital MP3 or digital files too. So we won't get into too much on that. We'll do that in a later course because this is an introductory course. So know about turntables, cartridges, and needles. First thing, you're going to need 2 turntables. You don't need 2 turntables, but if you want to put on a show and look like you're going from one channel to another channel and back and forth, you'll need 2 turntables. Also, you're going to need a mixer. And this mixer enables you to you have sound coming from 2 channels. So when you're DJing, you want to play something that's on this track on this channel and then fade it into the other channel and then back and forth. So your music is seamless and there's no gaps in between it. And that's what a mixer does. Usually has something called a fader. And you can go back and forth and blend those channels of music together so you have continuous music the entire time. We'll talk about why that's important as well. Many different types of mixers. There's regular mixers, DJ mixers, and there's even digital mixers now too. We'll take a look at that later in this lesson too. We're covering a lot of stuff here. A little tough to do it in an hour, but we'll see how much we can get to here. And headphones. You're going to need headphones to kind of hear what's coming up. If you're using a 2-channel system from left to right or 1 to 2, you want to hear what's coming up so you can cue that up. And that's why DJs hold headphones up to their ear. They're listening to the next track so they can cue it up and get it ready to play, either through bit mixing or just to find a slam or just a point where they can bring that song in next. That's what they're listening to in the headphones. So one ear is listening to the music that's playing at the party, and the other ear is listening to what's coming up. And your headphones will get pretty beat up. These are probably 10 years old, but I love these things. I'll put some links in the video too for some of my recommendations for some of the best equipment. So headphones, very important. Now speakers. Speakers are what your audience is going to hear. When you're just playing through a computer, you can play through your computer speaker, but it's very, very quiet and you won't be able to hear anything unless you have really big or good speakers. There's a couple of things you'll probably need 2 or more. If it's a big party, like a big festival, sometimes they have like 100 speakers suspended from trusses, and there's all kinds of geometry involved in getting the right sound when you have a room full of people, and how sound reflects off walls because sound is slow. It doesn't move as fast as light. Again, things I covered in my book, but I can't cover it in an introductory course. We'll go more into depth on that in another course. More powerful, the better, meaning the watts. They measure these things and how many watts can these things put out. And the more powerful, the better, but the more powerful, the more expensive. Speakers can be powered, meaning they have an amplifier built into the speaker itself, which makes it really convenient. One less piece of equipment you have to carry around, but that makes the speakers a little more expensive. And it's just something else that can break. So, and you need to find somewhere to plug these in too. If you have a powered speaker, then you're going to need to run power extension cords as opposed to either cordless speakers or speakers with just speaker wire, which is a lot thinner than a power cord. So a lot of considerations. You could talk to your local music store, and there's a lot of information online about speakers, speaker wire equipment, powered speakers, all that stuff too. Now the amplifier, if you have unpowered speakers, which is what most professionals use. That's not true. That's beginning to change, but you need a separate amplifier. If you're doing like really, really powerful systems, you're probably going to need an amplifier. The amplifier is what takes the signal from your mixer and amplifies it, makes it very powerful and loud, and then sends it to the speakers, and the speakers can create that booming system that makes everything sound really cool. So you want to get the most powerful amplifier you can afford. You don't want to push it too hard or it'll just turn off. One of those bad things that can happen to a DJ that we'll talk about in a minute. Microphone is what we're going to use to talk to your crowd. Wireless microphones are great if you like to dance or move around and get involved with your crowd. Professional microphones, about $100 and up. Wireless are a little bit more. You can do a corded microphone if you stay close to your mixer, or a wireless microphone again if you move around. But get a decent microphone, and it'll sound a lot better, and it'll be much more durable, and you won't have to worry about it breaking as much. Lights are awesome. They can make your rooms look like they're filled with energy, like all these lasers and things shooting around. Lights are expensive, take a little more time to set up because you got to set them up and break them down if you're moving as a mobile DJ doing private parties. And plus, you're going to need fog to make them look real good. If you noticed, whenever you see a really good light show, there's fog or smoke in the room. That's not from people smoking, because we're not allowed to do that in public places anymore, but Back in the day, the cigarette smoke was enough to make it look great, but you need a fog machine. And some buildings you can't do that in because they're smoke detectors or carbon monoxide detectors or some other kind of protection. Things put in to protect the room won't let you do fog. So make sure that you can use fog if you do intend to set up light systems, and you just ask in advance. So what could go wrong? Like any other job or any other profession or any other entertainment, things happen. And you need to be ready for these things. So I'm going to tell you a bunch of things I wish somebody had told me before I started as a DJ. These are some of the crazy things that can go wrong. And you can be prepared for these things. Not for all of them, obviously, but there are a number of things that you can be prepared for so that if things do go wrong, you're ready to go and you can flick a switch and do something called use your backup. And backup's key. I carried backup every time I did a job. So computers crash. You can drop them. The hard drives go bad. I mean, they burn up. Sometimes if you spill something in them, it could be bad for it. So if you can do a second computer or a second device, that's always great to have backups. Amplifiers fail. Again, they can burn up. If you push them too far, they could blow circuitry inside. I've had one catch on fire in a nightclub. That was a bad day. Speakers can break. You can drop them. The cones can split inside, and they could just decide not to tell you. Even the sometimes if you're banging them around in your car or your van when you're traveling with them, sometimes the inputs that go to the speakers, the little places where you put the cords in, can break, and then you can't use the speakers. So you need to figure out how to wire that without the input jacks, and that's a little weird. We've done that too. Songs are forgotten. Maybe there's one song you're doing for a special wedding anniversary, and they have a song that's not available on any of the digital platforms, and you forgot to buy that song, or you bought it and you forgot to bring it with you. And nobody can figure out how to send it to you over the internet. So that happens too. It's unlikely now with YouTube and all the digital services, but it can happen. That special song, make sure you've got it with you and have multiple copies if you can. The internet is weak. If you decide you're going to download some music once you get to the party, you're trying to get on the 4G or 5G and it's just not working, too many people on it, or you're in a bad area with bad cell service, it can happen. So make sure you download it. It's always better to have the music physically downloaded on your device if you're a digital DJ. You could be late. There could be 1,000 people waiting for you to start your show, and you get caught in a traffic jam, or you get a flat tire, or something crazy happens at home. These things happen. We're humans. It's an imperfect world. So it's good if you have a 2-person setup and you travel individually and somebody else is there. So it's very unlikely you're both going to be late, but that happens too. Lost music. We could forget music. We can also lose music. It can become corrupt. We could, somebody didn't pay for the license for Spotify, or there's ways to lose music. If you have physical copies, you might have left it on a table somewhere and forgot to bring it with you. It happens. It's happened to me. You may feel sick. We're just people. People get sick, and sometimes you're just not up to the job. No payment. Maybe you're doing a wedding for somebody and they promised to pay you like $500, and they just, I forgot to pay you. So you've got all your stuff set up. What are you going to do? You got to figure out what you're going to do in that situation too, because in a lot of cases, it's a business. And if somebody's not going to pay you, you don't want to get ripped off. So you got to figure out, what do I do if this guy doesn't pay me? Or should I make sure I'm paid in advance before I show up for this gig? The events can be canceled. Somebody gets sick. The person of honor gets sick. The hotel closes. Crazy things happen. You got to know what to do and check in advance and make sure that event is not canceled before you waste all your time setting yourself up and going up there. Equipment can be stolen. Anything that's portable can be stolen and may be stolen. You could walk outside, you're loading all your stuff up. Maybe you're setting up your light show and somebody runs in through a back door and takes your amplifier or your CD players or your turntables. You got to keep an eye on things too. Keep that on the back of your mind. There are some bad people in the world. And believe it or not, I've had DJs working for me who forgot to show up. So I always had a backup DJ on my staff. Hey, you need to jump out there, Bob. He was kind of like, he didn't want to do it anymore, but he would do it for me if I needed him, if somebody forgot to show up at a party. Fortunately, that doesn't happen much. So DJing, it's all about the music. The music really sets the mood for your event. But there's good and bad. The wrong music can set the wrong mood. It can actually get people angry and create fights. I have seen that happen over music too. Many strange things over the years. So you really want to come in with a plan, with a playlist, and we'll talk about that in a moment too. So most DJ gigs that you're going to do are created so people who like to dance can actually dance. In most private party and festival situations, the music should be continuous. You don't want that, they call it dead air. When you're listening to music, it's like, boom, 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 and you hear nothing. Dead air is really awkward. You hear the silence come out of nowhere, and you know there shouldn't be silence there. So it's a big no-no in any type of DJ situation. Really, the radio's bad too, because you don't want to have blank air because people will change the station. In a festival, you don't want no music because everybody's going to look around, hey, what's wrong? And they're going to look at you because you're the center of focus. They know that you made a mistake. Or at a wedding or something, if you're not talking or doing something, you really don't want something called dead air. So you want to kind of get continuous music or some kind of continuous sound or announcements or something going on. And again, you'll really need to be prepared for anything. Sometimes if music goes bad or a CD breaks or a digital file becomes corrupt, you got to grab that microphone and prepare to say something. Maybe make an announcement or cover yourself until you can get another song playing or a remedy for the situation that's gone bad. So be prepared for anything. Have backup. Know it in the back of your head and rehearse these things too in advance. So playlist. We talked about playlists. So as a DJ, especially the first two different types, the ones that's doing festivals and parties, you'll need to know a lot of music because you're going to have all kinds of different people there, all ages, styles, tastes, nationalities, and more. So you'll need to know a good amount of music in each of these genres. And really the only way to know it is to play it, to live it, to listen to it, to enjoy a lot of it. And you will play a lot of music that you don't like. Trust me, that will happen too. But you have to do it. You can't just say, I'm not going to play this because I don't like it because 1,000 other people might like the song. So that's not really an option. You're going to have to play stuff you don't like. And you'll have to have all this music downloaded if you're a digital DJ, categorized and ready to go. So you'll need to know how to find it. All right, what's that song? Somebody just came up to me and asked me for this song. Well, I need to know where it is and I need to get it on quick and maybe I want to play it next. So you got to really know where your music is and how to get to it quickly. And it's better if you have it categorized by genre, by speed, BPM, some other stuff we'll talk about in a couple of minutes too. We're covering a lot here, so feel free to pause and re-watch this again if you need to, and I can answer questions in the comments below. Music sets. We're talking about DJs playing sets. So if you do too much of the same style continuously, people are gonna be like, oh, this is boring. It's like the same beat, dun, 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 dun. Because a lot of dance songs sound almost like every other dance song. In some genres, it's sometimes hard to tell the difference when the DJ switched from one song to another. That's a good mix, but that's not good sometimes because it becomes boring. So your DJ performance should really have peaks and valleys, kind of like a roller coaster. You're going to go slow, build up to high, a crescendo to really big energy, and then bring it down a little bit and bring it back up. Really keep people interested. So they're guessing. They don't know what's going to come next. And they're dancing like, this is cool, oh, this is cool, this is cool. And then break it up into another set. So it's best to divide your music up into sets. Back in the day, I would do 3 to 7 songs of the same genre or style, and then I change it up to a different genre or style or something. Plus, it gives people a chance to take a break and rest, because nobody can stand out there and dance for 4 hours straight. And some people need to take a potty break or something, or get something to drink. I mean, we're humans. We need to rest once in a while. So these sets give people opportunities to change and rotate out your dance floor, make sure everybody's going to have a good time and can do what they need to do. So how do we do this? How do we deal with these playlists? You're going to need to learn to do something called reading your crowd. This is where the psychology comes in. I mean, look at this girl. She is obviously not enjoying what's going on. She's rolling her eyes. Oh, if he plays one more song like this, I'm going to fall asleep. And it can get a little weird as a DJ. You'll be standing up in your DJ setup or your DJ booth, and you'll be looking around and there's no one on the dance floor, and everyone's kind of staring at you like, what are you doing? Why don't you play songs that people can dance to? And people will say that to you too. But you can dance to people banging sticks together technically, but people will still get that question. Play something we can dance to. Believe me, you're going to hear it. So it can get a little weird, and you just need to know how to handle that. And you can read your crowd, and that means watching people. Watch their faces. Are they happy or are they sad like this? Are they rolling their eyes or their faces smiling? And then you could watch their heads. Are they starting to bounce a little bit? Maybe they're into that music. Maybe I'm on to something here. I need to find more like that. Are they tapping their hands? Are they moving their feet? Maybe they want to dance, but they're waiting for somebody else to get on the dance floor before they jump out there. Maybe they're embarrassed, but you know you're on the right track because you're playing the right music. So this is, let's jump in there and see what we're going on. You can have a large crowd with very diverse tastes, meaning you can have different ages, and sometimes their taste can be very different, polar opposites. You have some people who like country over here, and you have people who like hip hop over here. And a lot of times those two groups won't mesh. So you'll have to figure out what you're going to do. There's just some people who are miserable. You're going to run into a lot of the older people who just hate all music. It's just too loud. I don't want to hear this. I'm here because my grandson made me come to this wedding. And you're going to have to deal with that too. Fortunately, you can ignore them because they probably will never hire you because they hate music. So don't worry about them. Just, don't say anything mean to them, but you're going to run into those people. If you're being paid and you're not sure what you should play, always ask your boss. Say, hey, what kind of music are you into? What should I play here? And play mostly what they prefer. If they say it's up to you, then play for the masses. You're watching your crowd. You're seeing people tapping their fingers, moving their heads, moving to the beat a little bit. You can kind of get a feel for the music that the masses are into. And the person who's paying you probably wants to see the most people have a good time. So you kind of tailor your show to those people. You'll know by watching your crowd, and you'll learn to read your crowd through experience. It takes a little time, but you'll figure it out. So now, beat mixing 101. We said we should have a continuous flow of music. And in your sets, there is a way to do that through something called beat mixing. You'll notice that most songs have a beat of usually a count of 8. Like most dance music is going to be based on the 8 count. Not 8 per se, but a multiple of 8, like 16, 32, or 64. And you'll notice that most dance music changes something. It adds a singer or a different instrument, or it brings the energy down on a multiple of 8, like 16, 32, 64. Like we can play a song and we can tell that something will change on the 8 count. And we can listen to something. You can tell on this one, on the 64, something's going to change. I'm going to listen to it. And you can hear the synthesizer comes in on either 16, 32, on some sort of multiple of the number 8. So you can learn the count. When the music comes on, you'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you need to find the downbeat, and that's the hardest part. Where does it start? 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And things change on that 8 count. And that's the cool thing. You'll be able to do that automatically after a while. You'll be able to recognize that downbeat and start that as a 1 and then count to 8. And then every time the 1 comes by, you'll expect a change or a multiple of the number 8. So beats per minute. Let's talk about beats per minute. Every song has a tempo. It can be slow, medium, fast. The definitions of slow, medium, fast are really arbitrary. It depends on the genre, depends on your taste and the preference and what's hot in music. So we can measure dance music tempo by counting the number of beats per minute. That's how many times we hear a beat per minute. Basically, how many times a bass drum sounds every minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can count those number of beats for an entire minute. What most people do is, if you have to count them manually, a lot of DJ programs will count them automatically for you now, which is really nice. But you could count for 15 seconds, how many beats are in 15 seconds, and then times it by 4. And that will usually give you a pretty accurate estimate of the beats per minute of a song. Songs with a BPM or beats per minute of 120 will probably beat mix best with other songs that are around 120 because they're similar. If the BPMs are too far apart, then it's going to sound weird because you got to slow one down or speed one up, and people can usually notice that if you do that too much. So beats per minute rules. Just because songs have the same BPM doesn't mean you can or should mix them. You can have a country song that's 120 beats per minute and a hip hop song that's 120 beats per minute, and they're going to sound terrible if you try to mix them together. So BPM is just one consideration when you're developing your sets or planning out your sets. DJ sets should usually increase in BPM, not decrease. More BPM usually means the energy is going up. Not always, because there's other factors in the song that can raise the energy as well. But good rule of thumb is the beats per minute should increase, not decrease in your sets. And you can mix songs with very different BPMs if they're the same type of music, using the slam method. Sometimes you want to do that based on the popularity of a song. So that happens once in a while too. We'll take a look at that as well. So beat mixing rules. Songs are part of a song. Parts of songs begin on that downbeat, on that one count. We call that the downbeat. So you begin your mix on that one count. The one count of the song that's playing, along with the one count of the song you're bringing in. And you're going to match those one counts so they happen at the same time, based on the speed, tempo, or BPM of your song. Most dance songs are going to have something called a break. It's a more quiet place where singing and synths drop out, giving the DJ a place to match those beats. A little easier to match beats on a break without all the synthesizers or singing. Plus, it's a natural place that the people who made the song want you to mix on. They don't want you to mix over. If somebody's singing, like the best part of the song, you don't want to mix out on that. You want to mix out on empty beats, which is called a break. So always mix on the break if you can. Some dance mixes can be as long as 10 minutes. You never want to play the entire mix if you're playing a special dance mix of a song. You want to mix out at the first or second break, or people are going to get bored of hearing the same song for 10 minutes. Usually 3 to 4 minutes is enough, and the radio mixes are more than enough for most dance songs. So beat mixing 101. We can mix two songs together by... There's a number of different ways. These are the two most popular. We can mix songs together by beat matching. So song one's playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now you bring song number 2 in, and you're going to bring the volume up slowly, but the ones are going to match. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, until you fade the first song out and you fade the second song in. So that's called beat matching. When you got those beats together, you're turning one's volume lower, one's higher, until all you hear is the new song. And you do that over and over again in your sets if you're beat matching with beat mixing. You're matching those beats together so they're right on top of each other. Pretty simple to do after you, especially with the new software. The things I'm going to show you that actually does it for you automatically, which is crazy. So this is a program we're going to take a look at. It's called Virtual DJ. There are a number of these programs out. This is one of the original ones, the first one I started playing with when I transitioned to becoming a digital DJ. So you'll see 2 decks here, and you can set it up with multiple decks, but as a beginner, you're going to start with 2, or you'll really end up confusing the devil out of yourself. So song number 1's playing, say at 120 BPMs. You can actually see the BPMs here because the software measures it for you, so you don't have to count them out manually, which is a tremendous help. And you'll see this white line in the middle here, and that's the beat that's currently playing. So you can see how those beats line up there. And these are the beats that you're going to want to match. You can actually do it visually now. Back in the day, you just had to do it by ear, but now you can do it visually and with your ear, which is a tremendous help. So you'll see that white line. That's the beat that's playing right now at this instant in the software. And you've got song 2 queued up. We've got it right on that first beat, on that downbeat, on that number 1 count. And it's ready to go. And as soon as I find the break of song number 1, I'm going to click play and try to match those ones as close as I can. And you can adjust the pitch and the volume. We'll talk about that in a future course on how to actually, the physics of beat matching. But when you start out, you just want to try to learn to match those 1 counts. Learn to count the 8 counts and figure out when those breaks are, when the changes of the song are, and the best time to bring that new song in over the old song by matching up those 1 counts. That's the best way to do it. When you get a little bit more advanced, you'll be able to adjust the pitch and do some special effects and do some loops and some really cool stuff. But for now, just learn to match those beats together because everything is built on that foundation. The one count is always over the other one count. And this is your mixer. This is called your fader. And in most mixers, you're going to see a sliding fader. Some are knobs, but the most popular ones are a sliding fader. And you see it's all the way over on channel A right now. That means that song 1 is playing with full volume. But as I mix, I'm going to gradually take that mixer and slide it over to B, where they're both playing together for a little bit. And eventually A will be completely gone and I'm going to play B as my new song. So you're going to fade back and forth from deck A to B and then from B to A as you put new songs on each one of these decks. So that is how that works. That's called a fader. So if you have any questions, at this point we've covered a lot of information. You can rewind the video, watch some of this again, or put them in the area below here in the comments below, and I'll check this every couple of days and we'll address some of those questions for you. So in the meantime, let's try it. Let's jump into a program called Virtual DJ and let's actually try to mix 2 songs together.
All right. Chuck Fresh with an overview of Virtual DJ. Again, we're just talking about beat mixing today. There's a whole bunch of really useful tutorials actually built into the Virtual DJ program. So once you download that, you can watch all the videos you want and you'll learn how to use this. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on social media, on YouTube, on how to use this properly. Very, very fully functional, feature-filled program. I really dig it. And again, it's free for home users. If you're just toying around with it and just using it at home and you're not going out to make money with it, then definitely download this thing for free and use it and abuse it. It's awesome. So if you have multiple sound cards like I do, it's going to ask you which one you want to use. And I'm going to use my computer so I can record this for you guys. Normally I export with a Focusrite Scarlett to send it to amplifiers or speakers if I wanted to do that. But since we're just in this classroom environment, we're just going to use computer speakers, and I'll use the Focusrite for some other stuff. So it gives you a whole bunch of options here. We're going to assume that everybody's a beginner, and we're just going to do just the basic EQ. There's a tremendous amount of things on here that you can and should learn once you become a good DJ, once you get into it a little bit and understand beat mixing and beat matching and beat mixing. 2 different things, but kind of part of the same genre, part of the same big pie that you're going to need to learn to be a really good DJ. All right, so you're going to come up to this. This is the first time you open Virtual DJ. You're going to have nothing on your decks. And you can see you have deck 1 over here and deck 2 over here, but there's no music. So you can browse to your music. Your music's ought to be stored here on the bottom. So I'm going to start with something really simple. I'm going to take one of these songs. I wrote these songs specifically to help people learn how to mix. They're very, very simple, very short. They've got plenty of places to mix in and out of, and we can learn how to beat count. I mean, we have to learn where that 1 count is. Remember, most dance music is arranged in sets of 8 beats, and we can listen to it. We can actually hear it. We'll just press the play button right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That downbeat is on the 1. 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now on this next one, something's going to change. And as a DJ, you'll begin to recognize that and learn, and you'll automatically know where that 1 is. And really, the only way to do this is to practice, to do it over and over again and listen to music. If you've done music theory or had music classes in school, then you probably already know that, and you're probably already familiar with it, and that's great. That's going to be a huge help. But if you've never done music theory, you may need to start from scratch and just listen to it. Just count along with your favorite songs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's see. We have our 1 song on here. Pretty simple. We have a nice opening here. So I'm going to play that. And then I'm going to drag my second song that I wrote for this into deck number 2. In deck number 2, you see it's already queued it up on that first beat. This white line is what's playing here. And I can just hit play to try to match the 1s. Not close enough. We'll try it again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are almost aligned perfectly. Now I can adjust my pitch to make it slow. And also this program will match them up for you. So the beats are automatically lined up. But I don't want to do that yet because you don't want to mix out over recognizable parts of the song. I mean, these are things that people are going to put their hands up in the air for. They're going to be excited. Here comes another change on an 8. We got some vocals coming in here. Again, I wrote these songs specifically for this tutorial, so what will happen is we'll have a break shortly after this, and we'll show you where we would bring the second song. And remember we talked about a break where the vocals drop out, the synthesizers get more quiet, and these are places in dance music where producers give you a chance to mix in and out of songs and do remixes and special effects and loops and all kinds of stuff. So we can see it gets real thin here. So this is where we're going to try to line it up. And I'm a little slow, and I'm going to match it. And you can hear the music, the synthesizer from the second song is coming in. So I'm going to drag my fader over here. And now I'm just playing track number 2. Before I was playing both at the same time. I can switch back and forth. This is the volume switch, or they call it the fader. This is the fader. It fades between track 1 and 2. And you could do all kinds of really cool effects here. Just click it in the middle here. Puts it right in the middle. But I wanted to mix to beat to a deck B. Now I'm playing song number 2. I can turn number 1 off and maybe put another song on there. Cue that up to get it ready for my next mix. So that's basically beat mixing. I can see from this diagram here, I've got a break coming up. You see that? Let me take it back. You can shuttle. You never want to do this while you're playing, but you can actually click inside this waveform and shuttle to any part of the song. And you can see this hand on the turntable actually moves. So it kind of tells you when you're approaching the end of the song. So I'm going to try to beat mix this song. You can see the BPM is 124. It's a little faster. And I need to move my... This is a lot faster. I could sync these up. And then I could mix back to deck A. And you can hear on the 8 count something different's happening in that song too. So basically you're lining up the 1 counts. That's really all beat mixing is. And then trying to make sure they're at the same speed. Now this is running a little slow, so I'm going to try to slowly bring this back up. And you don't want to bring it up too fast so people can hear you changing it. It sounds awkward. Like you move it like this, like, oh, people on the dance floor are going to get confused. You can really mess with this pitch a lot, but you can click this arrow here and it'll bring it up slowly. You can sort of notice it, but it's not as quick as if you drag this slider up manually like that. So now it's at the proper BPM, which is 124, which is the original BPM of the song. So I'm going to stop that there so you can hear me. Now, a couple of tricks that you learn in beat mixing or when you're in performances, a lot of people will speed things up a little bit. If you feel songs a little slow and people are getting sluggish on the dance floor, you can actually speed it up a couple of beats per minute. Not really noticeable, but enough to kind of pick up the energy on the dance floor. But you can hear, again, you need to learn to count and recognize those down beats, those 1s, and then count to 8. And on multiples, 8s, like this, something changed. Synthesizer came in. And right now I'm at 126 BPM. And this song I have on deck 2 is 120. So I'm going to need to bring this up a little bit. And I can press the Q button, takes it back to the first down beat. And when I'm ready to mix, I can shuttle it back there and get it ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to bring it all the way up here to where the beat is.
Danger.
All right, I have a beat here. I'm going to go backwards.
In the party. Danger.
So the important thing is to recognize where the downbeat is, where that 1 count comes in, and match the 1 beat of one song to the 1 beat of the song that you're bringing in next. There's other ways to do this too. Like if I'm playing this song from the beginning, let me take it to like the end, right before the break here. And I just want to slam out. I got my volume all the way over here. And I want to do this now. I just want to bring this song in.
Danger.
2, 3, 4. I could just slam that other song in. So now the new song's coming in and I've turned the volume to the song that was playing totally off. Now you have to be careful when you do this. You want to do it the songs that are instantly recognizable if you have any sort of significant beat change, because people will recognize that the beat did change. It's going to be slower than usual or faster than usual. So if you're doing slams because you can't beat match because the BPMs are too different, you definitely want to hit it in there when people start singing or something. And these are, again, are things that you will learn as you go along. You want to have people recognize the song you're bringing in. You don't want to kind of surprise them because you'll lose your dance floor in a lot of cases. So if they instantly recognize it, bring it in right on the first phrase where the person starts singing or rapping or something happens that's instantly recognizable. And then you'll see your crowd put their hands up in the air and make a lot of noise, and it'll make them feel good. It'll make you feel good, and everybody will be super happy. It's just the nature of the beast. Remember, you're the leader of the party here, you're the MC, you're the guy facilitating this entire thing, making things happen, making dreams come true. And, people are following you because you're the boss. You're the boss of the party. So basic beat mixing. We can go back and watch that video again, learn where the one beat is, and learn if you want to blend those two songs together with a slow fade by dragging the fader from A to B. And then when you go back from B to A, and recognizing how to count and where those one counts are. Remember, things are changing on the ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here comes a change. So multiples of 8, that's the key. The one beat is the downbeat, the first beat. You always want to mix on that one beat and then blend it in and maybe try to end your mix by the 8 beat or a multiple of 8. So it sounds kind of seamless. It almost sounds like you don't really want to sound like the same song is playing, but that's really your goal. In some really good remixes and some really good mixes, actually, you can play a song and do a mix and it almost sounds like the same song is playing. And then people are like, oh, I realized that he changed the song and I didn't even know it because this guy beat mixed it so perfectly on the break and he had the one counts lined up and it almost sounded like the exact song from the drum beats until the person started singing. Wow, I'm super excited because I love this song too. So that's the basics. I highly suggest getting Virtual DJ, just dragging some of your favorite music on there. Actually, when you're learning, a really good thing to do is to mix the same song into itself. So you take the same song. I would take How to DJ Song 1, drop that there, How to DJ Song 1 on both decks, and then play it, and then try to mix it yourself. Remember, this is the volume. So you're going to cue and listen to it here in your other headphones. That's where it gets a little tricky. It's hard to do it with headphones in a virtual environment. Oops, my BPMs were way off. You see what happened there? I need to check my pitch control. Keep an eye on the pitch control too, because if you change it, it stays where it was, even if you drag another song up there. So keep an eye. You can always click this button and it'll bring it to the natural BPM or the original BPM of the music. So yeah, mix the same song in each other, go back and forth, mix it in different places, but learn those counts. I think that's the key here. Learn where the downbeat is, where the number one beat is, and then mix out on the 8. So I hope this made a little bit of sense. Again, there's a tremendous amount of tutorials on how to use this particular program, and there's other stuff on beat mixing too. Remember, this is just an introductory course, and we'll try to put together some more complex courses as we go along, maybe something that'll go into in-depth into beat mixing and do a little fun stuff like that. My name is Chuck Fresh. I'm out. Good luck in your DJ career.